There are few things in this world more terrifying than a basilisk, a jealous lute instructor, or an overcooked tavern stew. But none of them, none, compare to the dread that curdles your stomach when you hear Talia's boots creaking outside your room at dawn.
Bozwick!
I jolted awake like I'd been struck by divine lightning. My foot shot out from beneath the blanket, catching the corner of my nightstand and launching it across the room. It collided with my chamber pot, which, blessedly, was empty for once. Bokk, ever vigilant, fluttered up from her nest of laundry in the corner and landed squarely on my chest, flapping once for emphasis before pecking my nose like she was hitting a snooze button. Another bang on the door.
I know you're in there, Bozwick.
"You have the voice of a siren, Talia," I called, struggling into my only pair of trousers. One that causes immediate cardiac distress.
I'm opening this door in 3, 2...
I'm dressed. Mostly. The tunic was on backwards, but that just added flair. I yanked open the door, mustering a smile that I hoped said, "Charming tenant." There stood Talia, arms crossed, foot tapping, and wearing the facial expression of someone calculating whether eviction was worth the paperwork. "Morning," I chirped, with the cautious optimism of a man who knows it's not going to help.
It's Thursday.
Of course it is. I had it marked on my calendar. I pointed to the empty wall behind me.
You owe me rent for 5 days, Bozwick, plus 2 mugs, a bowl, and...
She peered past me into the room.
Is that the bath towel I loaned you? And why is it nailed to the window?
It's a curtain now. Very bohemian. She rubbed her temples.
You have until sundown. 2 gold coins, Bozwick, or you're out.
Out of metaphorical favor or literally out? She didn't respond. She just glared at me. I swallowed. Understood. Sundown, 2 gold coins. Got it. I shall return victorious.
You said that last week.
And what a week it's been. A journey of emotional growth, of artistic evolution, and...
Stop it! Just get out of here and find a way of paying your rent, legally.
Talia sighed so hard a candle near the door flickered, as if something paranormal was about to happen.
Bozwick, I like you in a weird kind of way, and I would love for you to stay here longer. But I run a business, not a charity. No gold, no room.
I nodded solemnly, placing a hand on my chest. Then today I ride the wind of fortune. Today the world shall know the true value of Bozwick the Bard.
Just make sure the world pays you today.
She turned, leaving me alone in the room. I looked down at Bokk, who was now gently pecking the hem of my tunic, her way of saying, "You're ridiculous, but I'm coming with you anyway." And with that, we stepped out into the bright morning, where adventure, humiliation, and hopefully 2 gold coins awaited. You can tell a lot about a town by its job board. Some have job offers scrawled in neat penmanship, promising good coin for honest work. Grimwood Peaks was not one of those towns. Its board looked like it had been attacked by a drunken goose, and then repaired by someone who owed the goose a favor. The parchment flapped lazily in the breeze like it was trying to leave of its own volition. Nails stuck out like accusing fingers. One job was written on what looked suspiciously like a torn cabbage leaf. I approached the board like it owed me money, which, in a way, it did. Bokk clucked beside me, unimpressed, and pecked at a questionable smear on the cobblestones. Probably gravy, possibly blood. Honestly, hard to tell in this part of town. "Let's see what the future holds, my fine feathered associate," I murmured, scanning the board with the grim determination of a man trying to choose between expired milk and expired cheese. Wanted. Rat catcher. Must provide own net. Pay. 5 silver. Hazardous to health, dignity, and marriage prospects. No, I muttered. Need help moving furniture. Pays in pickles. Double no. Old man seeks strong back for wood chopping. Must be quiet, must not ask questions. Especially about the basement. I actually tore that one down, just to be safe. Is it so much to ask, I grumbled, for a patron of the arts to need a dramatic monologue read aloud over breakfast? Or a baby to be lulled to sleep by interpretive dance? Bokk clucked and gave me a look that said, "You really thought that was a possibility, didn't you?" And yes, I did. Because I am an optimist, I sighed, stepping away from the board, defeated by nailed-down nonsense and the audacity of physical labor. That's when I noticed the man standing in the alley across the street. Hooded, shifty, looking around like he'd lost something or stolen something. The usual signs of someone with a job that pays an actual coin and probably a little danger, which is frankly where I do my best work. He caught my gaze and motioned for me to approach with the subtlety of a giraffe trying to curtsy. Naturally, I obeyed.
Are you Bozwick?
He asked suspiciously. No one ever says my name with joy or confidence. Always suspicion or exhaustion. That depends, I replied, straightening my tunic and adjusting my sleeves with dramatic flair. Are you here to pay me or arrest me? He tilted his head, confused.
You act, right?
I embody the soul of storytelling. I become the moment. I was once so moving in a tragic scene that a man threw up. Either from grief or the dirty ale. I count it either way. The man looked over his shoulder, then leaned in.
I need a distraction. You'll be paid 3 gold coins. You have to be loud, dramatic, confusing.
I wholeheartedly accept.
But you don't even know.
3 gold coins. I would agree to get hit by a handcart for that right now. He stared at me for a long beat, then gave a slow nod.
All right. There's a noble's house on the west end of town. Big place, red shutters. I need you to stand outside around midday and just perform. Be seen. Be heard. Keep attention on you. Got it?
My dear friend, not to worry. I was born to cause a scene in front of the upper crust, I said with a grin.
And say nothing about me and nothing about this meeting.
My lips are sealed, save for the sounds of genius echoing off marble walls. He handed me a small slip of parchment.
This has the address. Be there at noon. Exactly noon.
He backed away into the shadows as if the alley might swallow him whole, which, given Grimwood's plumbing, wasn't entirely impossible. I turned to Bokk, holding up the note. Well, well, well. 3 gold coins for a little theatrical mayhem. It's like the gods finally read my strongly worded letter. Bokk flapped her wings once and gave a skeptical chirp. Oh, don't give me that look. What could possibly go wrong? She blinked slowly, like she was writing a will in her head. I tucked the parchment into my pocket and struck a heroic pose. It was nearly noon. I stood outside the grand estate marked on the crinkled parchment, a mansion with the kind of red shutters that practically shouted, "I've never worked a day in my life," and a lawn trimmed with enough precision to make even the gods weep with jealousy. You could smell the inherited wealth. Bokk and I positioned ourselves right in front of the wrought iron gates. She strutted. I limbered up. I took a deep breath, summoned my inner stage lion, which is like a regular lion but wears more ruffles, and launched into my opening act. Ladies and gentlemen of Grimwood, I declared to absolutely no one, behold the tragedy of the lost prince of Thimble's Newt. There were no ladies or gentlemen. There was, however, a confused gardener a few feet away who paused his shears mid-snip and stared at me like he'd just found mold on his morning biscuit. Still, the show must go on. I threw myself to the ground, clutched at my chest and gasped, "Alas, father, I cannot marry the goose she is spoken for." Bokk gave me a deeply offended glare. "Not you, darling," I whispered to her mid-monologue. "It's symbolic." Just as I stood to begin my famous one-legged waltz of grief, a god appeared at the estate gate. his brow furrowed and his hand resting lightly on the pommel of his sword.
You all right?
He asked in a tone that suggested he was already regretting the question. I am more than all right, good sir. I am tragic, I howled, falling dramatically into a bush. The guard winced as branches snapped.
Are you injured?
He asked again, but now with the same energy one uses when trying to talk a raccoon out of a trash bin. Only emotionally, I said, emerging from the shrubbery with leaves on my head and dignity on the run. I noticed the hooded man, my mysterious employer, lurking in the alley across the street. I gave him a quick, subtle thumbs up. He immediately ducked behind a barrel, which was very reassuring. I decided to escalate. Behold, I cried, pulling out my personal loot, which was about as tuned as a pirate's moral compass. A tale of heartbreak, of betrayal, of indigestion, I strummed. A string snapped instantly and whipped across my knuckles. Curse this ancient family curse, I yelled, improvising. Even my strings mourn my sorrow. People began gathering now. A few townsfolk stopped to see what the ruckus was, or if perhaps the ruckus could be legally removed. One woman with a basket of leeks muttered something about theater types and crossed the street. A dog sat directly in front of me, wagging its tail in earnest support. Finally, an audience. I bowed to the dog, and then, crash! From inside the noble's estate came a clatter loud enough to startle a pigeon out of its mid-air nap. The gardener froze. The guard turned sharply toward the front doors. Shouting erupted from within. Glass shattered. From my left, a shadow darted from the side of the mansion. My employer, hooded and breathless, sprinting near my direction with something shiny tucked under his arm. "Wait!" I shouted. Art has never moved so swiftly. The guard whirled back toward me.
You, what's going on?
I don't know, I lied. I was too busy expressing anguish in G minor. But even I realized that my performance had accidentally worked. I had, in a baffling twist of fate, successfully created a distraction. A good one. That's when I noticed something else. Another guard running after the hooded man. Then another. Then a nobleman in a nightrobe, waving a jeweled goblet and yelling something about thieving filth. And finally, because fate finds me hilarious, my employer tripped. His shin struck a barrel. He let out a surprised yelp, tossed the glittering object into the air, and landed face first in a puddle. The object, a gem-encrusted sculpture of what I believe was either a cat or a judge, arced through the air in a dazzling spin. "Bokk!" I yelled. "Catch it with your face!" She did not. But I, Bozwick of House Freelance, lunged with the desperation of a man who has nothing to lose but rent debt. I caught it, right in the stomach. I hit the ground with a whump. The crowd gasped. The nobleman gasped. The guard gasped. The dog barked once. I lay there, dazed but conscious, with a priceless statue on my chest and a chicken sitting beside me like none of this was her fault. The noble approached, breathing hard.
You tackled a thief to save my property?
I blinked. Did I? The crowd murmured. Someone clapped. Another person dropped a turnip in amazement. The noble helped me up, nodding with begrudging respect.
You've done me a service. What's your name, Bard?
I straightened, trying not to vomit from sudden movement. Bozwick, I said, of the Hollow Oak Tavern. I accept all forms of praise, payment, or perhaps a quality constructed loot. He pressed a coin pouch into my hand.
I'll send word to the magistrate that you helped foil a robbery. You'll be well regarded in town. Thank you for your bravery, Bozwick.
I gave the noble a deep bow. It is my extreme pleasure, my lord. I later glanced inside the pouch. It jingled. That beautiful, loud jingle that only gold makes. I turned to Bokk, who clucked with delight. Sweet poultry of fortune. We dine like people who haven't eaten in a month. There's a certain swagger a man, more specifically a dragonborn, adopts when he's got coin in his pocket. A slight bounce in the step, an easy whistle on the lips, and a dangerous overestimation of personal worth. I strutted down the street like I had just been knighted by the goddess of rent collection herself. My boots, worn but faithful, tapped proudly against the cobblestones, and I tipped my floppy hat at every dog, baker, and confused tourist we passed. Bokk marched beside me, fluffier than usual. She knew. She could sense it. My brief flirtation with heroism, the clink of coins, and the unmistakable scent of roasted garlic drifting from the Hollow Oak Tavern's kitchen. When I finally reached the Hollow Oak, I paused at the door, placed a hand over my chest, and took a deep, theatrical breath. "This is it," I whispered. "Redemption. Respect. Roast pork, possibly." I pushed open the door and stepped into the warm, familiar glow of the tavern, where the scent of stale ale, a burning fireplace, and Talia's perpetual exasperation filled the air like a homecoming. Talia stood behind the bar, arms crossed, as if she'd been waiting for me in that exact pose for 7 hours and hadn't blinked once. Her expression, somewhere between fed up and legally dead inside, didn't change as I approached. "I return," I declared. "Not as a vagrant, but as a dragonborn of means." She blinked slowly.
Well?
She held out a hand. Palm up. Unmoved. I gently placed the heavy coin pouch into her hand, my grin stretching wider than my coin-to-debt ratio had ever allowed. "I believe you'll find the amount both accurate and mildly astonishing." Talia opened the pouch. She raised a single eyebrow.
Did you rob someone?
"How dare you?" I gasped. "I was a decoy in a noble heist gone awry. I'll have you know I was both the unwitting accomplice and the accidental hero." She stared at me for a long, silent moment. Then, finally, mercifully, she smiled. The tiniest, faintest curl at the edge of her mouth, like the universe had begrudgingly handed her one moment of amusement she couldn't ignore.
Well, I really can't believe this, but you did come through, Bozwick. Thank you.
I beamed. Then she added,
Which makes this next part a bit awkward.
"Next part?" I repeated, my smile wobbling like an amateur juggler's fourth plate. Talia set the coin pouch beneath the counter and leaned forward slightly.
Your room's been rented.
I blinked. Rented, as in to someone else.
Yes.
But I just paid, gesturing wildly.
You were 5 days late. And Bokk, a dwarf who is part of a dungeon raider group working in this area, pays a week early, in gold with a modest tip. He also doesn't keep poultry in the bed.
Bokk is a talented chicken who contributes in a small way, I cried. Talia folded her arms again.
Look, Bozwick, I like you, against my better judgment and probably in defiance of divine intent. But I run a business. I gave you many chances, plural. And now I've got a patron who pays on time and doesn't scream about geese in his sleep.
That was a dream battle. I was defending a village. Her expression didn't change. I deflated. Right, I said, voice shrinking. So I guess I'll just go. I turned slowly toward the tavern door, Bokk trotting behind me. We stepped out into the evening air, the sun dipping low in the sky like a coin slipping through a poor man's hand, which, frankly, felt a bit on the nose. "Well, Bokk," I said quietly, slinging my bag over one shoulder, "looks like our time here has ended. No room, no bath, no questionable soup of the day." Bokk clucked softly. "I know, darling. It's not goodbye. It's just a dramatic pause in our symphony." I cast one final look at the Hollow Oak Inn, its lanterns flickering in the windows like little warm memories. And then we walked. No destination in mind. Just me, my chicken, my stories, and the open road. Behind us, A new chapter of someone else's life unfolding inside that tavern. What is ahead of us, you might be wondering? Well, I haven't planned that far yet. And with that, my dear listener, this bard takes his final bow.